Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Veteran Nation. It's been a hot minute. How you doing, TC?
Oh, where am I?
We're back at Veteran Nation Live today.
I thought I got fired.
No,
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 no.
no,
Did I?
no
I
firing
rage.
at
I
all.
rage. I rage quit.
We took some time off, and that's okay. It's good to do every once in a while
I'm drinking beer.
on the Lord's Day. I'm just messing with you. I'm like, is it a day that ends in Y? I'll be drinking.
Is it one of those days of the week?
This has been a great weekend for me. It's been very calm, and I've been cleaning and reorganizing things. So, um, for people with PTSD, cleaning things, organizing things, it helps put your mind in a good space. So, highly recommend.
I do them out of necessity. Um, I've taken over a crap ton of the household chores. Um, I am a new man. I am. Well,
Well, I understand that, especially with uh, your wife. She had that scare a while back. Excuse me, dog.
yeah, and she works 7 days a week now between the museum and being a pastry chef at Pivot. So
I'll be right
uh,
back. I'm gonna let
uh,
this dog out
but
because
it says, I'm the captain now. That's I took over the channel while you were gone. I see
it.
Sweet Yankee Bell is here, and we lost everybody else that was here earlier.
There we go. I was like, why did we lose all of our our,
Oh,
our comments? But there we go. We got them back.
all of them, all one of them. Oh,
Right
Paul's back.
there we go. Yeah, that's Oh, and now you're back, huh? Come on in. I swear, that's the one thing about this dog is, they trained her to bark when someone comes by, so that because she was not supposed to come to me. She was supposed to go to an older veteran, and that's the one
So
thing I hate is
you took Glory from
I didn't.
somebody older.
He unfortunately passed away. So
So
and
you orchestrated things so you could have a dog. So,
I did not try to kill anyone to get a dog. I was on the list already.
I'm just saying. I'm not
I
a little
even if
sauce. It's a little sauce, Skip.
even if you say I have had the motive, I didn't have the means.
Which is what literally everyone says. So,
Well, you need what means, motives, and opportunity. Those are the three things detectives look for.
yeah. And now with Flock, they can prove that you had the means, motive, and the opportunity whenever they want.
Well, yeah, I'm in a better spot, I guess I would say today, than I was. So I have more means today. But I definitely didn't have the opportunity then. Did not live anywhere up here near me.
I'm glad that I've got you on the defensive on this. This is great. A skipper on the ropes out of the gate.
See, you were law enforcement. You know how to think this way. Um,
I was just a deputy in a detention center. I never had to ask any hard questions, which is entirely untrue. But we'll just go with that. So.
we should talk about that sometime. I've never really asked any questions about it.
I was just gonna say I've never had like an open the floor to questions either even on my own channel or over here. We talk at it, as
Mhm.
pointing to it for background as to why I hold some of the positions that I hold now, but it's not something that I've delved into too much. I don't know. I think partially because there's a lot of
It
trauma around just leaving the career field alone. So
That's understandable, yeah. I remember, yeah, I remember talking to you when that was occurring. And yeah, and I was going through some stuff then, and, so I think that was why we very quickly bonded. But, this brings up a thing. I've been on your show and you've interviewed me, but I've never had you on to interview. Maybe that we should do that sometime.
I, I don't know how people would respond to me as a guest for an interview these days because of the audience knows me either from chat so much or all of our different shows together. So I just don't know how people would I mean, we can give it a shot sometime, but like, you know, like everybody that's like here right now watching and commenting, they've all, been victims of me coming into chat and calling you guys hosers and losers and
Yeah, but all these people have also seen me trolling. So, they've seen, I would say, the best and worst of us. Because, I mean, we've done things for people. Good and, well, good. I don't think we've done
good
anything
and bad.
bad.
We've done some good and bad things for people. And I
I,
I
you know,
second that.
well, I'm thinking about that. I don't think we've ever done anything bad to anyone other than call out
Well,
their bad behavior.
I I in particular, I don't know that you've ever done anything bad to anyone, but I've also stayed away from your drama. So,
Hmm.
but and when I mean your drama, the drama that follows you because of what you were doing with the
Yeah.
WTH stuff, and I continue to stay away from that.
It-
I don't I have my
Believe
own
it or
like, I've
not,
got my own hate watchers following me around now on YouTube
Believe it or
especially,
not,
so
that's not my only drama. I had when I first started doing this, I had a
Oh,
stolen valor group
yeah, I know.
following me around.
I was there for that, and, I mean, they
Yeah.
came after me too, trying to warn me that I was gonna be part of the criminal takedown of you for fraud, and it was
They
like,
I wish I had a dime for every time I've been threatened. Like it's just too funny for me.
you should see the gal that because 'cause I've been covering this Adam Schwarzy stuff on my channel now for a few months, and the
Mhm.
gal that just comes in and just I was her hero here in Minnesota for my stance on COVID and all of that stuff. But
Mhm.
now that I'm not towing the Republican Party
Right?
line, especially here in Minnesota, which if anybody and you knew me during that time, if anybody would have been listening to me, I'm not a leftist and I'm not a, typical GOP or, I've voted GOP for many, 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 many years just because it's been the closest I've been able to get to
Mhm.
where I align philosophically when it comes to socio-political political philosophy. But over the last 10 years, especially, I've found myself just politically homeless in the sense of the GOP has completely no, I will be wearing it when the weather's appropriate because my studio only has one inlet. So, and I like my beanie. So, I'd say bite me, but I don't know if you could reach anything above my ankles. Um,
She's like a little chihuahua.
fair. Um, so I just I haven't I don't have a I have a home in Minnesota because the Libertarian Party in Minnesota is not full of leftists and it, pretending to be libertarians, just like New Hampshire has the Libertarian Party that for the longest time was hardcore right wing nationalists pretending to be libertarians, and so I just
Kind of like Idaho's now.
well. Idaho's always been a little bit like that. Yeah. So,
For those who don't know, Coeur d'Alene is the pretty much the headquarters for the Aryan Brotherhood.
well, yeah, and the people of Coeur d'Alene itself hate it because they're they're not like that at all, and so it's
It's a
it's like
beautiful
a
town.
oh, it's a gorgeous town. It's the first time I ever saw a golf course with a hole in its golf course being an island in a lake. You talk about water hazard. So here's that. Yes, folks, I'm drinking a Corona Premier.
Um,
Well, I'm trying to get
yeah,
rid of it before ice comes to get it. So
yeah. What I guess what I like about you, and I knew ever since day you came out, and or day we first started talking, that you were very libertarian, um, and what I like about that is you're not one of the um I don't like saying lefty libertarian, but like I'm talking about the libertarians who are motivated by one thing, and that's marijuana. Because there is a section of that.
well, I mean, yeah, I mean that's fair, but when you look at it, every single party has a segment of people that are completely
True,
motivated by one thing.
true.
And
I get so annoyed by the Republican Party when it's people who only care about abortion. Like, I hate that.
that was the topic I was just going to bring up is you look in the Democrat and the Republican side, the left versus right.
Mhm.
You have people that still continue to vote strictly Republican because the Republican Party is a party of pro-life, and I'm like, is it? I mean, really? I mean, it's not. It's uh, and the Democrats that only vote Democrat because it's the party of pro-abortion, and I'm like, how is? I mean, like,
Did
how is
and
that a
while
way to build your political philosophy around whether or not you want to murder children in the womb or control people completely with, and I'm a hardcore abolitionist when it comes to abortion. I absolutely despise abortion. I
Mhm.
think abortion is terrible, but I also don't think it's a political issue, and when you politicize it, you
Yeah.
completely strip away the morality argument from abortion and are doing the very thing that like for libertarians especially, you're asking the government to con- I,
Georgie's comment
I didn't
sa-
will be
says I'll
marked when
be
I go.
marked if she goes to Vegas.
Well, yeah, they call that a trespass order. And so like the libertarian position is you can be pro-life or you can be pro-abortion, but the argument should be completely removed from the
Yeah.
realm of government.
And I am so glad ever since Roe v. Wade was overturned, because it was given back to the states. I think that's where it absolutely belongs. I don't believe federal money should be given to it. Other than that, I don't care.
Well, we mentioned flock in passing as a joke earlier, but if you look at the case out of Texas, there was a woman in Texas that was charged with a crime in Texas because after Roe v. Wade was overturned and handed back to the states, Texas all but eliminated the ability for people to get an abortion.
Mhm.
There are exceptions, but this woman went to another state to get an abortion drug, and law enforcement was tipped off to this, and so they tracked her movement using. Join me now, folks. On three, 1, 2, 3. Flock. They used Flock to track this woman's movements to determine that she went to another state to get the drug to perform her own abortion. And then when she came back to Texas, they arrested her and charged her for violating that law. And once again, do I think there's a moral issue at hand? Absolutely.
Mhm.
But the power that the state has to do that to someone in the hands of a conservative government or a left-wing government, or so right-wing or left-wing government, that's dangerous as all hell. And we should all be opposed to that. I don't care how opposed to abortion you are. You should be 100% opposed to the government tracking you using
Yes.
unwarranted surveillance. And when I say unwarranted, I mean literally they had no warrant. They used unwarranted surveillance equipment, accessed it across, let's just say across the country, to
Mhm.
follow her.
And
And
this is exactly why I'm not in favor of flock cameras. If they were passive and it was, okay, an accident or a crime happened there and now we're going to access it, no problem. But like tracking someone down in search of a crime, no. If you knew there was a crime, you already had proof of crime, okay, now you can access it, just like any other Fourth Amendment thing.
well,
If you
the
have probable
reality,
cause to look at it.
yeah, the reality about flock is though is that flock is absolutely a lie
Mhm.
when they tell you that it doesn't do X, Y, and Z, and it can't do facial recognition. That's not true. We have
Right.
insiders from Flock have said publicly, yeah, it can do facial recognition. Well, it doesn't do video. Well, no, it does do video, and they provide the video recording, not just pictures, video recording, um,
Yeah.
programming, algorithm programming as a patch for free to all agencies and entities that use it. Oh, well, we can't access any of the data. Well, now we've gotten
Yep.
releases of information that show people inside of Flock
Oh,
are accessing it.
we have a
Oh,
video of a cop trying to arrest a woman because her vehicle was caught on flock. Turns out wasn't even her vehicle.
what about the woman in Columbine Valley, Colorado that they tracked her vehicle allegedly repeatedly going through a neighborhood and then charged her with package, porch
Yep.
piracy. That's just one of multiple cases. We just had a case here in Minnesota of a flock camera reporting a guy's vehicle as being stolen. And
Mhm.
he's a car reviewer and he got a felony stop executed on him. And I think it was might have been in Bloomington or in Plymouth. I can't remember for sure. But every single time something like that happens, the the pro law and order crowd, the back the blue crowd comes out and says, "Hey, if you got nothing to worry about, if you got nothing to hide, why worry about it?" Well, this is why, folks,
Exactly.
because well, Flock saves lives until it doesn't, until it reports something artificial, it gets it wrong, and now they
Mhm.
execute a felony stop, and you don't know what's going on, and you don't respond just perfectly, and you get shot because they're executing a felony stop on you because they reported your vehicle as stolen.
Think
And
about it as your cell phone. Like, okay, if I committed a crime and you have probable cause I committed a crime and you go to in front of a judge and get a search warrant and search my phone, great. That's fine. That's perfectly legal. But think of that flock camera the same way. They're just blanket searching them for crimes now. And that's we don't allow that.
it's worse than just blanket searching, though, Skipper.
Mhm.
There, blanket searching would be, I'm just going to go look at all the pictures until I find something.
Right.
Like one Flock, the AI behind Flock, and I'm not an anti-AI guy. I want everybody to understand that. I am not an anti-AI individual. I'm an anti I'm going to use AI to create something and tell people that I created it person. What? I don't.
Cinder says most of his thoughts are crimes. He just doesn't act on them.
She talking about you, me, or yes?
Or I'm sorry, that was Mismatched Menace, not Cinder. But yeah, because they were talking about thought crime.
Oh yeah, I don't understand Georgie's comment, but I don't about racism. I don't get it. Um, but there's this. They actively now trust the AI in Flock to report things in a factual way when it's not. It's just been proven that it reports what it wants to report, and it's designed that way by the company to do that. And so you're not getting just like accidental identifications, you're getting intentionally falsified identifications. And
Mhm.
this is eventually going to lead to the loss of life for someone.
And a lot of AI, as we're already seeing, and rightfully so, is not court admissible. So this is the problem I have with law enforcement. If we're doing things that's not admissible in court, it's going to lead us down a path where we're going to get convictions on stuff, and when they find out AI was used, now that conviction is going to be overturned. The victims and their families are not going to have justice, and why did we do this when it was easily preventable?
Yeah, and so and this is actually a good tie-in to what we wanted to talk about. Well, what I wanted to
Mhm.
talk about, and you agreed to talk about with me. Um, what what we are dealing with is a fundamental misunderstanding of systems like Flock. They're not the only system out there, but a fundamental misunderstanding of the surveillance and even data centers. So, like right now, there's like I would say that the uniparty, the deep state in both the Democrat and Republican parties have gone like way too far out over their skis. And if you've never been downhill skiing before, when they say you're out too far over your skis, it's talking about Skipper. You know this because you've downhilled. Um, you have? I thought you had.
No,
No, I thought you had
never.
talked. No, no. Okay, never mind.
I would end up like
Too far
Sonny
out.
Bono.
You too far out over your skis. When you're downhill skiing, when you get too far out over, it means you're leaning into it too far, and you lean into it too far, you get top heavy and you tumble, right? So the uniparty deep state's gotten too far out over their skis with the data centers and surveillance, and now they're actually getting people on the left and the right, Republicans and Democrats and unaffiliated types are all coming together in their little communities fighting data centers, but they're fighting data centers for the wrong reasons. They're fighting the data centers. Oh, I don't want it in my backyard. Well, okay, fine, I understand that. Uh, but the reality is that they're also fighting. Well, it's the utilities. It's okay. Yes, it's going to hurt your utilities, and they're giving the data centers, basically free
Mhm.
access to utilities on the backs of the communities, water, electricity, and all of that. Yes, the data centers are handing lump sums of cash to these tiny little rural communities to get the data centers approved because
Mhm.
these tiny little communities are cash strapped and can't afford to fight them in court for one. Yes, they're also having mayors and city councils and city administrators sign, and I know you've heard some of this, sign non-disclosure agreements, meaning they are not allowed to talk about
And that should be completely illegal if they're a government official.
exactly, absolutely 100%. That yes, we know that, but people still think it's all about all this other stuff. And the only reason I oppose data centers isn't because it's for AI. I oppose the data centers because the data centers are the government's end around for mass surveillance. That's why they want all these data centers because they can now use the data centers to process the mass surveillance information and access it by claiming, oh, it's Google, it's Amazon, it's there's some other
I
companies out there, Intel, they're building these data centers. So we're just buying the information from the data centers, and now they don't have to have a warrant to do their surveillance. That's why people should be pissed off about the data centers.
Yeah. Oh, is that me or is that him?
Don't be pissed off because they're going to use
Oh,
a
there
little
we
bit
go.
more water than you want them. Everybody's pissed off about all of the surface level stuff, but they're not looking at the deeper side of it. And there again, it's not the AI, it's the fact that the government is using this as an end around to spy on you without a warrant and then come charge you for crimes. And now they've already decided, the Trump administration's Department of Justice has decided that if you oppose data centers, you should be put on a terrorist watch list for being a possible extremist who could be easily, should we say, manipulated to do violence for opposing data centers. And that should
And
tell you
that's
everything you need
just
to
as
know.
wrong as the Biden administration doing the same thing of the people who went to their school boards opposing trans people being in bathrooms. Just
100%.
as wrong.
It's just as wrong. Absolutely
Yeah.
100% just as wrong. It and so there again, I have no problem with AI. I use AI to make thumbnails all the time. I'm working with AI as I write lyrics for a new opening music for my show. I'm going to use AI to write music.
Georgie, get on that with them.
I'm going to use AI to help me put the music to it. But I'm going to say, "Hey, AI did this." Like I'm not going to just tell AI write me a song and then put it out and go, "I wrote this song." No, the fuck you did. You didn't write that. AI wrote that. And you just be honest about it. And that's my only problem with AI is people doing stuff with AI and claiming it as their own. That's what bothers me about AI. Give AI the credit. Damn, AI did all the work. You just punched a couple of numbers in the computer. So, but other than that, use it. It's a tool. It's like anything else. It's absolutely a tool like anything else. The problem is like any tool, and I hate to say this, government will abuse it. Any tool there is, government will
Mhm.
you name one tool out there that government hasn't used to oppress us. Name one. I'll wait. Nothing, anybody? So anyway, um
So, should we segue into the topic?
you want to ride around on a little scooter?
It depends on the scooter. Because this is very this what we wanted to talk about was the National Defense Authorization Act of 2026, specifically Section 219.
Yes, absolutely.
Uh, so it's titled United States Israel Defense Technology Cooperation Initiative.
Well, my phone is making noise all of a sudden. It's AI, goddammit.
The government's been listening in. If his phone explodes, people, it's
What was
probably
it?
Israel.
Someone said the same thing. Exploding pagers. So everything that we need to know. So, like the National Defense Authorization Act happens every session of Congress,
Hmm.
and basically it's just kind of everybody giving a nod yes to the fact that we need to have some national defense, and everybody agrees that we need national defense. I don't think you'll run into anybody. There might be some whack jobs out there who don't, but like even anarcho-capitalists such as myself want national defense. We don't want foreigners to come and invade our country, and under any guise. Um, and so that's really what the NDAA is supposed to be doing. But everything we need to know about the NDAA for 2027, we can know by the fact that it got tacked onto the SAVE Act to get it passed. because as it stood with Section 219 in it, they had enough pushback from both Republicans and Democrats that it was likely to not pass both houses of Congress. And so to get it past both houses of Congress, they tacked it on to the SAVE Act. And if you're not familiar with what the SAVE Act is basically the act that is supposed to be protecting voter transparency and voter registration and to keep our vote secure from cheating and outside influence. Now, they take the NDAA 2027 and tack it onto the SAVE Act and then tell everybody, anybody who votes against the SAVE Act is voting against securing our elections, which is absolutely 100% gamesmanship and 100% inaccurate, because there are people who on principle could not vote for the SAVE Act because of the fact that the NDAA 2027 with Section 219 was tacked onto it. And they said, I cannot support Section 219. And so they had to vote against the SAVE Act, or they had to either violate their conscience and vote for it and therefore pass the NDAA with Section 219 in it, or they had to run the risk of being accused of being an unpatriotic American who wants our elections to be, full of trash and cheating. And so it was a no-win. It's what they refer to as a Kafka trap. No matter how you answer the question, you're going to lose. You just can't win.
I'm just going to very quickly address this question about where's AVA.
I don't care where he's at. I want to know how in the world that hairy, ugly Hawaiian ends up being anybody's favorite.
He is currently at a furry convention, is what we've been told. So
he's playing airsoft, which I remind him is nothing more than cosplaying for adults. It's just like that's just like when a grown man wants chicken nuggets, and so he goes to Buffalo Wild Wings and he orders boneless wings. So why don't you just say you wanted some chicken nuggets? Just say you wanted chicken nuggets, because there's no such thing as a boneless wing. And so my guess is that
he likes it with the bone in it.
AVA,
he does.
I like to put the bone in it. Yes. So my guess is that AVA got some chicken nuggets and some hot sauce on his way to cosplaying this morning. So. Well, he's not annoying because he can't connect to the show most of the time because he doesn't know when to restart his phone.
That was still so funny. I was telling someone about that. I was like, one of my co-hosts, we were having problems connecting. We were like, when was the last time you hard reset your phone? He's like, what are you talking about?
Never.
Like, turn your phone off and turn it back on again. I've never done that. How long have you had your phone? Like 2 years?
2 years. So yeah, I do struggle with Section 219 for many reasons, and I believe it's a very dangerous prospect for we the people going down the road because of some of the stuff that's included in it. And I think it's a mistake.
And here it is. It's about sharing cooperative efforts between the United States and Israel to expand and accelerate bilateral defense technology research, development, testing, evaluation, integration, and industrial cooperation. I hope people understand what this is. This is a shift. This is a shift kind of away from our NATO allies. Israel is Israel has,
which I'm not opposed to that, by the way.
Right, Israel's not a NATO country, but it does get some NATO permissions, I guess you would say. It does follow kind of NATO standards
It
on
gets
things.
it gets a lot of support from NATO and
Yeah.
NATO adjacent countries. So,
Yes.
which NATO is also probably the single greatest cause of all the conflict in the European theater these days. So it just
And with the Europeans, they've been very wishy-washy on NATO, I would say, since September 11th, and they just kind of want to go their own way. Trump, they really hate Trump. They really hate him. I mean, with Trump in office, they're like, we are not going to be a part of any of this stuff. And a lot of people in Europe have TDS, but it's caused them to just want less and less to do with us. And NATO is one way. And on the flip side, Trump is telling them, "Hey, if you're in NATO, you got to pay your fair share, and I'm going to hold you to it." So there's kind of getting some bad blood. Whereas Israel, which has always had a kind of a close relationship, but it wants a closer relationship with the U.S.
I
And
don't I don't think it's a fair analysis to say that Israel's always had a close relationship with the US. I think there was some strain there early on, and if you know that,
oh yeah,
and this is not directed at you, but if you know the history of 1948 geopolitical Zionist Israel at all, they had a strained relationship with pretty much everybody.
yeah,
And factually, 100% factually, this is not something that can be disputed. Israel invented modern terrorism under the Zionists who were fighting to have the mandate Palestine, and that's how it was referred to as mandate Palestine. When they were coming in, they were using what we now refer to as modern terrorist tactics to clear large swaths of land, and then they continued to use terrorist tactics after Britain's kind of said, "We're out, we're done, we're not doing this anymore." If you haven't looked into it, just start by pulling the threads and looking at the King David Hotel bombing, and that will pull threads from pre 1948 and post 1948, where you can see Israel using terrorist attacks, or not just Israel, but Zionist related militias and organizations, paramilitary groups, and that caused a massive amount of strain. And the place where historically the U.S. and geopolitical national Israel now became very close was in 1953 when U.S. and Great Britain orchestrated a coup in Iran in Operation. My brain's freezing up on me right now, but there was the U.S., the CIA, and British intelligence orchestrated a coup in 1953 in Iran to unseat the duly elected, very popular, democratically supported prime minister of Iran, to reinstall the Shah to run the country. And then Israel sent the Mossad in to work with the Shah to train the Savak, the secret police of Iran, to persecute all of the Shah's perceived enemies. And that grew into a very close knit working relationship between the CIA and the State Department of the United States with Israel, because up until 1979, the US and Iran were the closest allies in the Middle East. The US and Iran were very, very close. They worked very closely together.
mhm,
And the CIA's foreign headquarters for the world were in Iran. They were in Iran. And when we lost, or after the coup, and then as things were building towards strained relationships between the US and Iran, it didn't just magically happen in 1979 with the Islamic Revolution, but Mossad was pulling strings to make those relationships harder, and they were working with the CIA to do that. And that's how the United States became very closely affiliated with Israel. And ever since then, even though we've never had any kind of agreement like we have with NATO countries, and if you don't know, there's uh, convention or Article 5 of the NATO agreement says that all NATO member countries are obligated to come to the defense of other NATO member countries if they're invaded or attacked. And we've never signed an agreement like that with Israel, nor should we be signing any agreement with any country that says that at all, because that flies in the face of our founding fathers who were doing everything they could to keep us from being involved in entangling foreign alliances. They saw then how dangerous it was. I mean, France supporting the American War for Independence ended up getting the king of France and his entire family beheaded because
And
of how much money he spent supporting the American movement.
I want to
And
show you this. Have you seen this?
Alzheimer begins when a person eats this breakfast food. Like, oh no, uh, oh that one. Iranian president under house arrest after regime uncovers ties to Israel. What's that? Yeah.
Like, and this struck me because Mahmoud Ahmadinejad was one of probably the most anti-West leaders of Iran since the 1980s. And the fact that he apparently was an Israeli operative
He was a Mossad operative. Yeah, which
uh, shows you how deep their what do I want to say their operations go.
right, and that's what bothers me about Section 219. If you look at it, here's my struggle with it. And everybody's going, it's because you're anti-Israel. Yes, I am. I am again. I believe that Israel is the cause of all of America's problems in the Middle East in particular. For some reason, anytime Israel wants to do something, they come to us and they don't say, hey, could you help us out? They tell us we're going to do this and you either help us or not. And then the American leadership goes, well, I guess we have to help them. So I'm like, all right. But here's what it does. It Section 219 requires, in other words, makes it lawful that Secretary of War, Secretary of Defense, and it requires them to appoint an executive agent whose job is to coordinate and expands defense technology cooperation between the United States and Israel. The initiative includes identifying Israeli developed or jointly developed technologies for incorporation. This is very important, for incorporation into U.S. military programs and increasing collaboration among government agencies, private industry, and academic institutions. Folks, that's literal fascism. That's literal fascism. And I'm not saying that that's Trump's a fascist. I'm saying that's taking American government bodies, the U.S. military and others, Israeli military and other government agencies, and merging them together, and then merging them together with private industry and academic institutions. It's a law. This is a law that's been passed. And some of the things that this is going to do, it's counter drone systems. Sounds great, right? Counter drone systems. Who doesn't want counter drone systems? We should all want counter drone systems. It's for our safety. Anti-tunnel technology. Well, how many countries in the world are having problems with tunnels right now? Israel, and then the U.S. because we do shit for border control. But we don't need Israel to do counter or anti-tunnel technology. We could develop that on our own. Missile and air defense. Well, we already give Israel everything for their air defense, missile and air defense. We give it all to them. But here's one of the artificial intelligence. So now we're going to share artificial intelligence growth with them. Quantum computing. Like, what the hell is quantum computing? I don't have an accurate definition for that. Machine learning. And Skipper, I'm sure you would.
I can explain what quantum computing is. So primarily, it's not just AI in getting things
Right.
faster, but also think about crypto, like
Right.
trying to secure things. The more and more secure it is, and I'll talk straight about a couple things here. The three, well, actually, there's four places out there with encrypted communication technology. Well, actually, technically five if we count Apple, but Apple's just iPhone stuff. That's all they're doing. But you have WhatsApp, which is owned partially by Israel. Uh, partially. You have Telegram, which is partially owned by, I believe it's China. Then you
I thought it
have
was Russia.
it, it might be. It could also be a joint thing too. I believe it was China last one I was looking at. And then you have Signal. Uh, I'll tell you this right now, folks. Signal is approved for use by the U.S. military to talk about U.S. military stuff, not classified stuff, but to talk just back and forth. And we had that earlier with Pete Hegseth and the Signal communications there. Uh, that's because that is partially owned by the NSA. And then we also have X. X does offer encrypted communication now. So those are the biggies.
So, and then machine learning, which is basically machines learning from one another and learning through AI. Autonomous systems, which everybody knows are drones of some sort or another.
Mhm.
So, in one bill or in one law for developing these things, you're going to have counter drone systems, but also developing autonomous systems, self functioning, self regulating, self operating. Oh, directed energy weapons, folks. And if you don't know what directed energy weapons are, just go look them up because they have been and will be used on civilian populations. And the United States is already working on directed energy weapons for use on American populations. Cyber defense. I mean, if you don't know what cyber defense is, it's just basically ways to keep American governmental computer agencies or Israeli government or computer agencies from shutting down, being attacked from outside. Electronic warfare, that's everything from communications to computers to whatnot. Biotechnology, human, basically life messing around with tech for the human body. Defense manufacturing and co-production, and then this vague other emerging technologies agreed to by both governments. Now, on the surface, everybody's saying, well, this is about security. Okay, so if this is just about security, why are we doing this very specifically focused on Israel instead of our other allied countries, who, by the way, have been far less hostile to the U.S. behind the scenes than Israel has been, both publicly and behind the scenes. Israel's bragged about spying on American government agencies, on American politicians, as well as on American citizens, private citizens.
And here's the thing with that. I don't know if that is. I know you believe that to be nefarious. I don't think it is. Like I've told several people. I am now convinced wholly that the whole thing with the Epstein Island was a joint Mossad CIA
Oh,
operation.
100% agree.
That's why we will not know whatever happened with any of that stuff. That's why there'll be no convictions. It's not because Trump had friends or anything like that. No, no, no. It was a government operation. Now, and I do know the CIA has avoided the Fourth Amendment by having other government agencies get intel and then pass along. We saw that with the Russian collusion investigation. That's exactly what Peter Strzok and Lisa Page were doing within the FBI. They were having the British spy, and then they were using Five Eyes classification to get that that intel without having to go seek a warrant against a United States citizen. So
Yeah.
I
So for
don't
those
think
of
it's
you that
all
don't know,
nefarious. I think it is cooperative.
well, I think everything the government does now is nefarious. So, I mean, um, the reality is that for those of you that don't know, the CIA is by law is restricted from conducting operations within the United States. Its sole
Yeah.
focus is supposed to be conducting operations outside of the United States. And what this does, Section 219 does, is it's opening the door for an end around for the CIA in particular, and even
Mhm.
defense intelligence, to farm out conducting operations inside of the United States via Mossad and other Israeli intelligence groups. And once again, if you don't think that they've done end arounds before or just completely ignored the law, all you have to do is look into Operation Mockingbird. And Operation Mockingbird was the CIA doing end around to literally take over the media. And it worked. They co-opted and ended up corrupting the media. And back then it was a lot easier because it was three networks and public broadcasting.
Mhm.
So the biggest question that I have is if this is strictly about American security and American safety, then why are we strictly limiting this to only Israel? Why are we not talking about this broadly with all of our supposed allies? Once again, my pushback is we shouldn't be allowing this with any foreign country. We shouldn't be doing this with any foreign country. We should be ending all of these guys. We should be getting out of NATO. We should be getting out of the UN. We should not be doing anything with Israel or for Israel. But we are literally doubling down. And the way that this section is set up, it is going to make it virtually impossible for us to withdraw from this legally. That any president who tries to withdraw from this in the future could be, if you look at the way the end wording is, could be looking at being impeached. Because it becomes an enmeshed bureaucratic system. And what do we know about all the bureaucratic systems in the United States government, Skipper?
Takes a long time to fight them, change them, do anything.
And they continue to grow while you're trying to fight it all.
And I don't look at this specifically as the problem. I'm looking at what's happening with, like I said, I used the example of the Russian collusion. Trump came out this week and said, China was trying to interfere in our elections. He was saying that the CIA specifically did not give him the intelligence showing that, and he even has one woman. I can't remember if she was at the FBI or CIA, but they have her communications saying that she's essentially running a shadow government. That is the problem I see. Uh, we have a government that is civilian controlled. We put the president in charge for a reason, and if these bureaucracies have gotten too big and have gotten out of do not believe that they are subservient to the president anymore, then we've got a major problem because that is a coup. It is 100% a coup.
Well, and that's here's and this is not a attack on Trump. I want to understand because while I believe Trump is 100% on board with Section 219, Section
Mhm.
219 made it into legislation because the U.S. Senate and the U.S. House are owned by AIPAC. They're 100% owned by AIPAC. You can say, well, I'm okay with that. And maybe
And
that's a
I
different
think
conversation we can have about your,
I think Trump's on board with I agree with you. I think Trump's on board with it, but I think the reason why he's on board with it is because no one has ever showed him the connection to these things. Like, hey, this is going to be
I
used
I
against
don't think
you.
I don't think I
Even
don't think
though
we can give him that pass anymore, Skipper, because of like just let's. I'll get there. Let me say this:
here's
the
one thing
House
I'll
and the House and the Senate are doing this because their AIPAC handlers are telling them this needs to get done.
true.
And it got attached to the SAVE Act because the AIPAC handlers said if you don't attach it to the SAVE Act, then the opponents of Section 219 in particular will actually have an argument against it. And you need to be able to destroy them if they vote against the SAVE Act to vote against 219. And this is the very thing, for as smart as everybody says Trump is, he should see this for what it is, which is increasing the deep state. This is absolutely 100% growing the deep state that he said he was set
Sure.
out to destroy.
But here's the thing, because I've served under guys like Trump. Like I've had probably
I don't want to hear about the guys you've been under.
but there are people in the military who are guys like him who are just like Trump. The thing is, like I do think Trump is a smart guy, but I also do think he is susceptible to manipulation, and that's why I've never been a big fan of Jared Kushner. And I think he knows how to manipulate Trump, and I think there's other people within his inner circle who know how to manipulate him,
Well,
and it's
I
primarily
don't disagree.
talking to his ego.
I don't right. He is clinically a narcissist. Anybody who's
Yep.
studied narcissism can tell that. And we've talked about narcissism, just doing a show like this. You got some level of narcissism. Doesn't make you a clinical narcissist, but Trump is clinically a narcissist.
Yeah.
Talk
And
to,
that can be both to our detriment and benefit.
and
And
right
that's
now it's
where
definitely to our detriment. And
on this, I would say potentially.
and you bring up this point about Kushner knows how to manipulate him, but I think others know how to manipulate him. And you look at his affiliation with the Adelsons, the Miriam Adelson and her husband who's now deceased.
Mhm.
I mean, Miriam has unfettered access to Trump at all times, goes wherever she wants in the White House, whenever she wants. She's given more single-handed. The Adelsons have given more single-handedly as donors to Trump, not just through AIPAC, but just on their own, millions and millions and millions of dollars. And she wrote a scathing commentary in one of her papers that she owns. I think it was she owns the paper in Las Vegas when Trump had done something that she didn't approve of. And as soon as she wrote the scathing editorial about him, he reversed course. And so I think I really had hope that he wouldn't be easily purchased. But we've just found out that he's owned too. And this escalating war with Iran that was only supposed to be 2 weeks, by the way, folks, shows just how in the pocket of Israel the United States government is, to include the president and Congress, House and Senate, not just Republicans and not just Democrats. It's both of them. It's the vast majority of both. And Section 219 has now made it, like on paper, has made it law that we're ensconced. And I'm going to personally, philosophically punch Greg of Scotland in the nose for that entry comment. Who was it said, where to go? That, and I don't know if she was, they were joking or not, but Israel is our greatest ally against Islam. It's that simple. I would tell you that we wouldn't need to have allies against Islam if we stopped trying to kill Muslims on behalf of Israel. And that has been
I would say this is where we diverge.
Well, it's okay that you're wrong. So
only because we're seeing the same type of Muslim hostility in all different parts, not just the US, but all over. So yeah, that's why I diverge from you a little bit.
Once again, I would say, like, I'm not disagreeing that there is 100% agree that there is Islamic terror.
And
I agree with that 100%. At the same time, we have to look at what causes the Islamic terror. And by and large, one of the reasons why there's such a move for Islamic terror in Europe in particular are the massive refugee crisis that have been caused. It's not like Muslim countries are going, hey, let's send all these people out. It's a lot of the, like, especially in the destruction of Iraq, that caused a massive wave. Somalia, like the reason why Somalia was not exporting Somali terrorists around the world until the United States got involved in Somalia's personal affairs and completely wrecked the country. We went in and wrecked the country on behalf of the UN, and I say UN in this case because I mean if anybody knows anything about Black Hawk Down, that was a separate operation outside of the auspices of the UN that only went off the way that it did because we weren't allowing our troops' hands to be tied by UN rules of engagement. But
I don't necessarily agree with you on that. I think you're right to an extent. But I'm seeing a lot of, and it's not just Muslim, but a lot of and I don't even like calling them refugees because they're not refugees. They're just people leaving their homeland, going to Europe, America, Canada, uh, uh, across the board. Like they're coming from all over the Middle East, all over. I mean, India, Africa. You're seeing it across the board. It's it, it's fiscal migration is how I see it.
I once again I want Cinder to understand I am not saying that Islam doesn't pose a threat. I'm saying that Islam poses a threat because we have in the Middle East supported the country that's doing its level best to make enemies of Islam. And we have no business allying with Israel. And I will not brook any argument that says does Israel have a right to exist? I will tell you no country in the world has a right to exist. There's no such thing as a right for a country, for one. Two, countries have risen and fallen throughout the history of mankind.
I see what you mean, but I would say the right to have the ability to exist because
Sure, as long as I'm not paying for it.
uh, because there are people who, well, I mean, from the river to the sea means complete destruction of Israel, and that is why. And Bill Clinton was talking about this. He offered a peace plan where literally the Palestinians could have a connected Palestine, West Bank to Gaza Strip, and they could pick exactly what lands they wanted. And Yasser Arafat turned it down because he said, no, we should not have to live with them.
Once again, I'm not defending Yasser Arafat. I'm just
True,
saying I'm absolutely 100% opposed to American lives, American money, blood and treasure being spent on the defense of another country. Period. I don't care who it is. If Israel wants to exist, let them fight their own freaking wars.
And here's the thing.
There would be peace in the Middle East if we did not back up Israel. Right now, there'd be peace because Israel would either learn to get along or get wiped out. And if it gets wiped out, who cares? Because they want to wipe out Syria. That if you factually, I'm not making this up. Factually, Israel wants the Greater Israel Project. They want the Greater Israel Project. They want to take all the land they think they're owed. And they're doing that with Syria. The US and Israel backed ISIS in overthrowing Syria. They gave money and weapons to ISIS to overthrow Bashar al-Assad. They gave chemical weapons to ISIS to use in Syria and then accused Bashar al-Assad of using chemical weapons against his own people. And then they got caught having been involved in ISIS using the chemical weapons and proven that it was not Bashar al-Assad. Yet we still backed Israel and backed ISIS in overthrowing Syria. And now one of the most evil men in the history of let's say the last 30 years, be personally responsible for beheading American soldiers and Marines in Iraq, personally responsible for it, is now the president of Syria, installed by the CIA and Mossad. And that's why every country has a right to defend itself, and every country has a right to fight to stay around. But we as the American people have no obligation to come to anyone's aid.
And if we started having a discussion about repealing the Camp David Accords, I'm here for that discussion. I think it should be debated. I think it has served its purpose. I don't know if we need it 10 years from now.
Right. And once again, I'm just for repealing the Camp David Accords, just because we shouldn't have been involved in the first place. We gain absolutely nothing from our relationship with Israel. Nothing. And now we've got.
Well, we did get Gal Gadot, and I'll take that every day.
Skipper always thinking with his penis. At least one of his heads is full. We're literally spending billions. Like, we've lost over $1 billion just in MQ-9 Reaper drones being shot down by Iran. Over $1 billion in just Reaper drones. That doesn't count all the other equipment. And now we've had 2 more American soldier or service members slaughtered, and Trump mentioned the word nuke in response. He's talking about nuking Iran. The whole reason we're supposedly fighting this war is to keep Iran from having a nuke so that they can't nuke anybody. But now we're talking about being the only country in the world that's ever used nukes. Now we're going to use one again. Maybe. And for what? What do we gain? What do we gain by? What are we at now? March, April, May, June, July. Over 6 months. 6 months of a 2-week campaign. We're billions and billions and billions, trillions of dollars in the hole. Our strategic petroleum reserves are at the lowest point in the history of its existence since Ford. And Skipper knows this, if the strategic petroleum reserve collapses, we're in for a shit show, folks.
See, I don't, and I've not been really against what's going on in Iran. I've always said I don't want ground troops involved, and I maintain that. I'm willing to deal with what's going on. One thing I don't believe that it's as dire as what you think, because I am seeing this as a global petroleum shift, because by choking off the Strait of Hormuz, the world still needs oil. Trump went into Venezuela, took out Maduro. We are now in negotiations for oil reserves there. Also, United States oil is finally exporting again. We haven't exported oil like a significant amount in probably 6 decades, and we are now exporting oil. So I think his whole goal was an economic shift of petroleum resources.
I don't disagree that we're exporting oil, but do you know why we're exporting oil?
Well, we're opening up new supply lines.
No, we're exporting oil because the oil that we are pumping out of our own ground doesn't work in our refineries. Our refineries, for the most part, are set up to, for lack of better terminology, only refine efficiently heavy sour crude. And there are multiple types of crude. And so what we're pumping, what we're drilling for, and what we're getting is light sweet crude, which cannot efficiently be processed in our refineries. And the government will not allow the refiners to build new refineries or to retrofit in a positive way the refineries that we do have. So to try and get a little bit of heavy sour crude into the country, we're basically exporting and trading, and it's not enough. We cannot import enough the way it is right now, especially with not being able to get our hands on the Middle Eastern crude the way it is. Um, they've been so Cinder said they've been shouting death to civilizations for 70 years. That's not, once again, the entire reason that the Islamic Revolution took place in Iran is directly because the United States caused it. We caused the rise of the Islamic Revolution in 1953 when we overthrew the prime minister and installed the Shah, who then abused the shit out of his own people with the Mossad and the Savak. People have to understand that. That happened factually. Iran was not better under the Shah. The Shah's friends and allies were better under the Shah, but thousands and thousands and thousands of people under the Shah were disappeared, raped, murdered, and gotten rid of by the Shah, and no one would come to the aid of the Iranian people. And so that's why. Why did we overthrow them? For oil. Because the prime minister said we're going to nationalize the oil, because British Petroleum Company was stealing oil from Iran and not paying the Iranians for it. And the prime minister said, that's our oil. You don't get to take it anymore. We'll sell it to you. And but British Petroleum went to British intelligence and US intelligence, and also talking to Israel, who was buying that oil from British Petroleum, and said, what do you guys want to do about this? And so they said, we're going to perform Operation Ajax. And we've paid for and funded the military coup that took out the prime minister. That's why the Iranians in particular hate Israel.
I'm showing you this. This is just one aspect of my proof of the energy shift. So New Jersey, this came out this week. New Jersey takes step towards new nuclear power plants as Cheryl signs bill. And there's other
I agree
states
100%.
looking at this. We are woefully, we haven't had a new nuclear power plant since the 1970s.
100% agree. Nukes the way to go.
And you know, with all this, I think this was part of Trump's aim. I actually said it to people back then, back in January when this started. I think this is just an energy shift, and now I'm seeing these things, which is why I believe that. I admit, I could be wrong. Trump might have legitimately thought it was only going to be 2 weeks. I never thought it was. I thought that, okay, this is going to be just like Kosovo, is how I viewed it.
Well, it's not looking like it's going to be just Kosovo anymore.
I don't think it's going to be ground, except for Karg Island. That's where I could see us taking over.
If we send even Muse and special operations into Karg Island, it's going to be a fucking meat grinder, and we're going to be seeing body bags come home for no fucking reason. None.
I don't know if we'll see American troops on Karg Island.
Who's going to do it?
Over?
Who's going to do it?
Oh, I can see the UAE. I can see Jordan.
UAE will not do it. UAE does not want any of this. They do not want any of this.
I mean, we'll see. I could be wrong, but that's the only thing I can see. I can see a coalition taking over Karg Island.
The Arab coalition will not put troops on the ground in Karg Island. They will not do it. Israel's already said they won't do it either. Israel is pushing for the seizure of Qassam and Karg, and
I know Israel won't do it
but they know the U.S. has to do it, and nobody else has the manpower to do it the way that we could. And it would be a meat grinder. It would be an absolute meat grinder.
I could see Egypt, UAE, Jordan. I'm trying to think who else.
They don't want those countries. Those countries do not want to go into a full-scale conflict with Iran. We cannot beat Iran. We cannot beat Iran. We cannot. We do not have the manpower, and we do not have the technology to beat Iran. We don't have it. We're losing now. You think we have the technology to do it without dropping nukes?
I think we could do it with a coalition.
No, there aren't enough. There is not enough manpower to take on the Iranians.
There is not. I just know that Iran has very few friends in the region. Very few. They
But
they
they have the
pay
friends that matter. Russia and
they
China.
they're not going to get involved. Qatar and Oman are their two biggest allies, and those allies are paid for.
Japan wasn't going to get involved. The U.S. wasn't going to get involved either until
Uh,
Japan attacked the U.S. because we cut off their oil.
China just got embarrassed in the Pakistan-Indian War that happened in December. They just got embarrassed. Their copycat of the F-35 got destroyed because they have reverse engineering capabilities, but they have no engineering capabilities. So China is woefully. I know we think of China as a powerhouse. It's a paper tiger.
Put Rosie's stupid, or not Rosie, Georgie's stupid question up. And I'm sorry, Georgie, this is the dumbest thing you've ever asked, ever.
This one?
Yeah, that is the dumbest thing you've ever asked. I'm not defending, and Skipper will back me up on this. I'm not defending Islam, and I'm also not defending Iran. This is not a defense of Iran. This is me being honest about how
I'm
this
not
conflict
defending
started.
Islam, but I do like their no women driving policy.
This is not me defending Iran or defending Islam. This is me telling you the truth of why we're in this conflict, this war. This is a war that we started in 1953. We started this. We caught this. Everything that's happening now is a direct result of CIA meddling in foreign country affairs. In fact, 1953 Operation Ajax is the reason why we have the phrase blowback today. Factually, the CIA coined the term blowback because of what happened after Operation Ajax. And when you consider the question that you asked about, am I willing to bow to Allah? No, I'd die before I would bow to Allah. But that doesn't mean that we go around killing people in other countries for another country. We are at war with Iran for Israel. There's no way around it.
I think this is one of the best shows we've ever done.
Well, it's because you got a bunch of people yelling at me in the comments.
No, it's because I think we both have different views on this. I think we are coming at it respectfully each other, even though we don't 100% agree. But I think we're also
I'm meaner to you when you're doing the opening of your Coffee with Skipper show.
And I think both of our opinions are very strongly rooted in knowledge and seeking knowledge. More importantly, seeking knowledge. That's what people don't understand. Debate is about exchanging information and making your arguments stronger to find solutions. And I think this has been a great show for that.
No, I agree. I'm going to counter Georgie's question. Georgie, if you claim to be a Christian, why do you defend Israel? They're not a Christian country. Judaism is an enemy of Christianity. 100% an enemy of Christianity. Practicing Jews today reject Jesus as the Messiah.
You know me, I listen to a lot of different things, especially things that challenge my worldview. It's something I want to talk to you about later on. I heard someone in a debate claim that today's Jews are not really Jews. They're not really practicing Jews. Ever since the fall of the Second Temple, they don't adhere to their beliefs.
No, they adhere to rabbinical
So
not rabbinical, but
I think that would be something interesting to discuss in a future show.
Yeah, it would be fun. They are ever since the destruction of the temple, they lost the ability to sacrifice. And so there are true Orthodox Jewish people who will tell you, like, the vast majority of Jewish people in this country or in this world do not support Israel, by the way. They are absolutely fundamentally opposed to Zionism. Zionism is a very small segment of Judaism, and it's not a religion. Zionism is not religious. Zionism has its roots in two places: the Marxist rise. Many of the people that founded Zionism came out of Marxist ideology, and a form of nationalism. So it's a nationalist Marxist ideology, and it is a very violent ideology. Historically, I've studied this deeply because I used to be a Zionist, and I said, wait, there's some things here that do not connect. And so there are Jews today who practice the old Torah, rabbinic, old pre-rabbinical modern teachings. They reject them and they practice them as best as they can, but they can't do sacrifices because they don't have a temple to sacrifice in.
And I've
And
also heard that the priestly class, the Levites, are
that's the Levitical.
the discussion is, are they still, because I've heard
Right.
some people argue that they're not even there are no pure Levites anymore, which means they can't be a priest anymore.
Yeah, the Levitical line has it's a descendant line, so you can't just be a priest.
Hmm.
You can't just decide one day you're going to go be a priest, a high
Yeah.
priest. You have to come from the line of Levi. And there are questions as to whether or not that still exists. And within Christianity, you don't want a new temple built because a new temple being built is a sign of the end times. And contrary to popular belief, you don't want to be a Christian in the end times because there is no such thing as a secret rapture where God kind of partially comes halfway back to the earth and sneaks you away and then leaves everybody else behind to go through hell. Like, no, that's not an accurate biblical teaching. The true eschatological teachings of Christianity teach that there is no rapture and everybody goes through the tribulation. So it you don't want that. And by the way, when the third temple gets built, when the temple gets built, that's the Antichrist. And where is the temple going to be built? The only place it can be built. Where is that, Skipper? You know,
Israel,
Israel,
Jerusalem.
Jerusalem. And you know what that means? That the Antichrist comes out of Israel. Folks, it's not coming out of Islam. It's not coming out of former Soviet Union countries. The anti and the actual anti. No, don't bring in the Left Behind books. I swear to God, I'll.
No. There was where they say he comes from. I want to say Moab is where the Antichrist is said to come from.
But
But what does that mean? Does that
what
mean
does that
born
mean?
there? Does that mean
Um, but the beast, if you will, and really, it's Antichrist is not actually the title of one individual in eschatology. It's a small a, and it's always mini Antichrist. And Antichrist is anything that goes against the spirit of Christ. That includes the practice of Judaism as well as the practice of Islam. So Judaism
and
and
Taylor
Islam,
Swift?
and yes, and Taylor for sure, Taylor Swift, and Puddle of Mud. But so Skipper sent me a private message. Should I read it? Skipper's trying to tell me he's got to end it. That's what he's doing. We need to start wrapping it up. That's what she said.
I do have one last announcement before we leave. So,
So
but you go
I'll
ahead.
so
Finish
no
your thought.
so all of this is like if you are a true Christian, and I mean that true because there are people who profess who give lip service to being Christians. If you are a true Christian, you have to understand eschatology, and if you do understand eschatology, you have to understand theology even more deeply. And deeper theology says we have nothing. We are not aligned with. We cannot be aligned with Judaism, and we cannot be aligned with Islam. And So we have to recognize that God is not American. God is not on the side of America. God is not on the side of Israel. He's not on the side of Iran. He's on the side of the church. If you're a Christian, you have to recognize that. He's on the side of the church. He's not on the side of any, and really he's on his own side, and the church should be on his side. And I just, for Cinder, this is not an OMG Israel thing. This is not what I'm getting at. What I'm getting at is the entangling problem that we have with Israel, that we have allowed as the American people to develop. And we will not get anywhere until we begin to understand just how deeply entangled we are with them. And they have gotten away with a lot of crap. They committed espionage to get their nuclear program, which no one gets to supervise. They intentionally tried to sink, and Skipper and I interviewed the men. They intentionally attacked the USS Liberty. It was not an accident. It was an intentional attack meant to draw the United States into the war in 1967. They wanted the U.S. involved in that war.
Can I end this with a joke?
I thought this whole thing has been a joke.
This is from an actual comedian, Emo Phillips. He did this joke 30 years ago.
I am Emo.
Emo, yeah. If you've ever seen the movie UHF, you've seen Emo Phillips. He said, once I was on the bridge and this guy was about to jump and I said, don't do it. He said, nobody loves me. I said, God loves you. Do you believe in God? He said, yeah. And I said, are you a Christian or a Jew? And he said, I'm a Christian. I said, me too. Protestant or Catholic? And he said, Protestant. I said, me too. What franchise? He said, Baptist. I said, me too. I said, Northern Baptist or Southern Baptist? He said, Northern Baptist. I said, me too. And then I said, Northern Conservative Baptist or Northern Liberal Baptist? And he said, Northern Conservative Baptist. I said, me too. Northern Conservative Baptist, Great Lakes region or Eastern region? And he said, Great Lakes region. I said, me too. I said, the Region Council of 1879 or of 1912? And he said, 1912. And I said, die, heretic. And I pushed him off.
So true. So true.
Oh. I love that joke.
Skipper, thanks for the show today. I know it went longer than we were planning, but
remember Chris Elder, who he's with Return to Roots podcast, the Mill to Vet.
Yeah,
he moderated a debate between us, and he is running for Washington legislature in the state of Washington. He is trying hard to flip his district seat. So we're going to support him. I'll try to see if he'll come on.
Yeah, no, tell him, if you get him to come on, tell him I'll interview him on mine as well. That's right up my alley.
Definitely. So
well, it's been fun, Skipper.
Yep. Thank you for being here, TC. I would say thank you to Kahanu, but he's cosplaying.
He's cosplaying while he's in his chicky nuggies.
He's fighting teenagers in his fursuit with an airsoft rifle.
And that's probably about the most accurate thing we said all day.
All right, guys. Thank you for being here. And as always, thank you for being worth serving.
Hey there, Veteran Nation fans. I am talking to you today because I have teamed up with a company that's dedicated to supporting veterans. What they do is they help you gather all the medical evidence that you're going to need to submit a VA disability claim. Now, it's all that is designed to help you get the benefits that you have earned. Right now, more than 17 million veterans don't have their full benefits. And if that sounds something familiar, either for yourself or a family member, now is the time to act. With this company, what they offer is free consultations with the medical team so they can figure out how they can best help you. And what they provide is board certified doctors with experience working with the VA, comprehensive medical documentation for both physical and mental conditions. And the services that they provide include Nexus letters, telehealth evaluations, DBQs, TDIU, aid in attendance, and so much more. What you're going to do is you're going to click the link that's in the description of this video and sign up for a free consultation. Make sure you do me a favor, share this, and also tag a veteran. Let's help more people get every single thing that they have earned.